we now take a look at Aristotle's view of potentiality and actuality and how it relates to change. Now, according to Aristotle, form and matter by themselves do not completely explain the world because of change. So it needs to bring in something that accounts for how change occurs in the world. One of the examples that he uses is the example of the acorn. An acorn has a specific form and also specific matter. Understanding the form of the acorn and the matter of the acorn does not complete our understanding of the acorn. Why? Well, because to understand the acorn fully also requires understanding its potential to become an oak tree. So this brings in the concept of potentiality, and of course along with potentiality comes the concept of actuality. On Aristotle's model of change, change involves going from a state of potentiality to actuality. And the terms, even though they're specific to metaphysics in the context of Aristotle, they do match our normal everyday use of the terms. If you think of something having potential, that means that it could be something but is not currently. So if someone's a potential graduate, it means they could graduate, but they have yet to do so. And actuality means that something is, well, actually, it is that. So if someone is an actual graduate, they have graduated. For Aristotle, potentiality is primarily associated with matter. So the matter of the acorn is not the tree, but the potentiality, it's potentially the tree. So acorn is not actually the tree, but potentially the tree, because the acorn will eventually, or potentially, if it's successful, become the tree. For Aristotle, he associates actuality with form. So the actual oak tree arises from the acorn, guided by the form. So change involves a change of form, but the nature of a thing also includes its capacity to change, which is, of course, its potential. Now, these notions of potentiality and actuality will be used by our good dead friend St. Thomas Aquinas when he tries to argue for God's existence in his famous 5 ways. And Aquinas is a good example, perhaps the best example, of how Aristotle's metaphysics, and also his ethics, although we're not covering ethics and metaphysics, how Aquinas took Aristotle's pagan metaphysics and transformed it into a version of Christian metaphysics. So an interesting transformation. So in order to understand change for Aristotle, we have to understand the various causes. Now, Aristotle used the term cause, or at least the Greek version of it, in a very broad sense that now includes what we typically consider an explanation rather than like a cause. And for him, there are 4 types of causes, and we'll look at them in their order. So the first cause is what's called a material cause. And this is the matter that makes up the thing. So to give it a concrete example, the stone that makes up a statue would be the material cause. They may be thinking, well, how could that be the cause of the statue? Well, one way to look at cause is sort of if the cause were not, then the effect would not be. So if there was no stone, then there would be no stone statue. Second type of cause is the efficient cause. Now, that of course would sound kind of misleading because we think of something being efficient, for example, like a car getting like really good gas mileage. But he doesn't mean that. He doesn't mean that an efficient cause is really good at not wasting. What it means is this: it is the origin of the process that produced the thing. In Aristotle terms, it's the cause that actualizes the thing's potential. For example, the parents would be the efficient cause of a child. So material cause is the matter that makes a thing up. The efficient cause, again, the term is so misleading. It's not that it's a cause that is, very, very non-wasteful. It's that it is what, the origin of the process that produces it, and that it actualizes its potential. And again, the good example to use is think of parents being the cause of the child, or you could say the sculptor being the cause of the sculpture, of the statue. The third type of cause for Aristotle is the formal cause. Now, not formal in the sense of like a formal dress or formal dance. In this case, he means the essence of the thing. So the form is what is actualized, and this makes the thing what it is. For example, it's the form of human, just assuming for the sake of the example there is just a simple form for that. That's what causes the baby to become a human adult and not a squirrel. So the form explains why, the formal cause explains why a thing is what it is. And so in terms of potentiality and actuality, it's why, human babies grow up to be humans and not squirrels or squids or other stuff, or why acorns grow up to be oak trees. So Aristotle was doing his stuff, obviously, before the notion of genetics. And, today, of course, we don't, if you took a biology class, they would not talk about the metaphysical forms, ensuring that a human baby becomes an adult human as opposed to a squirrel. They talk about genetics, etc. But since Aristotle, was among the first people really, explaining this kind of stuff systematically, you have to start somewhere. The last cause, the final cause, is the final cause. And for Aristotle, this is the end, purpose, or function of the thing. Now, to use non-controversial example, you could talk about how, what is the, cause of the cell phone or smartphone. Well, you explain in terms of its purpose and function. To text, to make calls, to run apps, and that is a clear purpose because we build the thing to do a thing. Now, that's pretty non-controversial that you can make things that have purposes or functions. Where it becomes controversial is that Aristotle's notion of final cause is not just for manufactured items, things we make, but also for natural entities. For him, natural objects have purposes, ends, and functions. And not just kind of metaphorically. I mean, they actually do have meaningful purposes, ends, functions, etc. Now, he doesn't think that non-thinking objects, like acorns and rocks and water and stuff, are intelligently guiding themselves to their ends, in the sense that they're, they've got like a mind that's planning stuff out. But he thinks that all these things have a purpose or goal. For example, when you talk about the final cause of the acorn, that would be becoming, a tree that will make more acorns. And Aristotle also thought that human beings, as humans, had a function, had a purpose, over and above just, the functions of our parts. And this becomes the foundation for his ethics. And his view is, roughly put, our function is to be virtuous. But that's a matter for ethics. So those are the four types of causes for Aristotle. So there's the material cause, which is the matter that makes it up. There is the efficient cause, which is the beginning of this process, like parents for a child. The formal cause, which is the essence of the thing, its form. And then lastly, the final cause, the end, purpose, or function of the thing. You could to use a final example to tie it all together. You can imagine someone 3D printing like a little part for a refrigerator, missing part. The material cause would be the plastic that makes it up. The efficient cause would be, the person's starting the printer in motion, and the printer could be involved as well. Then the formal cause would be the 3D model of the part, and the final cause would be, of course, the purpose or function is to, repair the refrigerator for which the part is for. So those are Aristotle's views of cause, the four versions. Now, Aristotle his overall view is a view that falls under teleology. He's a teleologist. It comes from the Greek telos, which means end or goal. Now, there are ethical theories that are teleological, that are end or goal, focused. Now, as he sees it, or saw, because he's pretty dead now, he regarded nature as a collection of processes that all aim at fulfilling various ends. Now, as I mentioned before, he doesn't take the view that natural beings are consciously aiming towards the end. So it's not like the river is, psyching itself, saying, gotta flow today, gotta go downstream, and guiding itself and thinking things through. They're not like, anthropomorphized. The idea is that the essence of each substance includes a push to achieve its end. So all these things are purposes or functions, but they're not consciously, planning this out. Humans do. We do consciously plan things, but his view is that everything's acting towards an end, which is why he's considered to accept teleology. Now, what sort of pulls everything to its end, that's not consciously thinking about achieving its end, is the entelechy, which is the final stage of a process. So for Aristotle, things are pulled by their final stage. So things are aiming to fulfill their potential. And this leads to Aristotle's famous unmoved mover.